G'day guys, top 10 reasons I hate Durianrider. First of all, oh my god, you're trolling my video. Get out, Durianrider.
Just rolled out of bed. We've got Chris. Chris has shared his story here. I'm going to put the link down below to his channel and upload his video. Thanks for the shout out, Chris. If you want, I think if this is a good idea, I think this might be a good idea. I always enjoy hearing other people's perspectives. Often in life, you do something for so long, you sort of forget other people's experiences or perspectives. So I always find it great to hear this now and then. Actually, often it gives me different insights. So if you would like your video featured, and I'll try and do people I've never done before on YouTube. So if you can maybe share your story about some advice that Durianrider freely gave you, how it's been for you, etc. You could send me the video on Facebook, DM on Facebook, or you could do it on Instagram. They're the best ways to contact me with the video, stuff like that. And I'll put some more little compilation stuff together. This is Chris. Check it out.
Hello everyone, welcome to my first ever YouTube video. My name's Chris, I'm type 1 diabetic and I am vegan. So basically, why am I making this video? Well, you're on my new channel, High Carb Diabetic, and basically I've made this channel to help people with diabetes, people who are type 2 and type 1, and just people who want to go vegan in general. So to give you a bit of background about myself, I basically used to be the kind of person out there who would eat, the standard Western diet, lots of meat, chicken, fish. I used to hit the gym constantly, neck loads of protein shakes, and I probably started hitting the gym when I was about 20 and was at it quite seriously for about 6 years. Really liked it, made quite some good gains. I thought I was healthy at the time. What I was doing, like I used to eat 4 or 5 chicken breasts a day, eat fish every day, 3 or 4 protein shakes a day, absolute joke. And anyway, I started to eventually get ill. So in around the middle of 2013, what happened was I started to lose weight, and which is what I wanted to do. So at the time I was about 190 pounds, and it's probably about 20% body fat, and I just wanted to get leaner. So I started hitting the gym more to do more cardio at night, and at lunchtime I'd hit weights, and sure enough I started to lose weight, and I eventually got down to probably about 170 pounds. I was pretty happy with that, and I thought I'll just leave it at that. And then what happened was my weight began to keep on dropping more and more. In addition to that, I started having really strong cravings for sugar. So at lunchtime I'd go across the road to the local supermarket, I'd buy loads of like sugary yogurts and stuff like that, eat them all day, and I constantly felt really hot, and I'd be drinking loads of water. When I look back on it now, I was probably drinking somewhere like about 6 to 8 litres of water a day, if not sometimes up to 10 litres of water. I was really bad. So it started around the middle of 2013, so probably about May, and I saw my weight go down, saw my strength decline in the gym. So I was probably deadlifting about 308 pounds. That was my max deadlift, and I eventually got to the stage where I couldn't deadlift about 140 pounds. I couldn't really pick it up, and if I did, it was just for like a rep or two, and my health began declining. But at the time I never saw it, and it never occurred to me that I was actually ill and there was something wrong with me. It's like just this really insane mental fog. And around about November, December 2013, by the grace of God, my laptop actually broke, the laptop I had at the time. So what happened was I had to turn my PS3 on, which I hadn't used in ages, and I wanted something to watch, so I started watching Netflix, and I came across a documentary called Forks Over Knives, and it completely changed my life, I would say, there and then. Basically, for those of you who don't know Forks Over Knives, it's a documentary, and it follows Doctors T. Colin Campbell and Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, and basically these two doctors in the US who are working separately from each other at the time. They both came to the conclusion that the majority of our chronic disease, so heart disease, diabetes, cancer, etc., was all caused by food, specifically animal products. And this documentary follows them, and basically the documentary basically shows how heart disease is, one, completely preventable with a plant-based diet, which is basically a diet of no meat, fish, chicken, eggs, milk or dairy, and is centered upon whole plant foods. And what they showed is also that basically people who have plant-based diets, they have much lower rates of cancer. So as soon as I watched this, it began to sort of change my life, and I realised that basically this is why this could be why I'm ill. And when I was watching the documentary, it actually talked about a condition that can happen when you have too much protein in your diet. I think they call it something like protein acidosis or something along those lines, where essentially, because proteins are amino acids, if you have too many, what can happen is it can create an acidic environment inside of your body. And what happens is your body actually has to leach calcium from the bones to neutralize it. So I came to the conclusion that this is what's wrong with me, and I need to do something about it. So I binned all my protein shakes, binned all my supplements, haven't had one since, and I started to drastically cut back on the amount of meat and chicken, fish that I was having, and the amount of animal products I was having. But the problem was, I still wasn't 100% vegan. I was still ill. And anyway, to carry the story on further, so I cut out all the animal products, and immediately I started to urinate less. I wasn't quite as thirsty, but I still wasn't right. I mean, to give you an idea how bad I was, I ended up weighing about 10.5 stone. So I'm 6'1". I weighed about 190 pounds. Fair enough, I had about 20% body fat, but I ended up at about 10 stone. 10.5 stone. That's how bad. That's how ill I was. And I don't say this lightly, but if you'd see a picture of me back then, I looked like an AIDS victim. I looked very bad. So anyway, so that's the story so far. So I started to get ill around the middle of 2013. Came into contact with Forks Over Knives December 2013. But the thing is, though, even though it really changed my life and how I looked upon, meat, fish, chicken, it wasn't quite the icing on the cake. It was the bottom of the cake, but I had no icing to finish it off. And to continue the story on further before we get there. So in April 2014, I was at a church service, and I saw a relative of mine. And anyway, before the service had even ended, I had to go out the back door, go in through the side, and get myself about 3 glasses of water because I was just so thirsty. And after the service ended, I think I necked about 3 coffees because I just had no energy as well. I was just lethargic. And he said to me, "Oh, you probably got diabetes there, Chris." And I was a bit taken aback, couldn't believe that I might have it. And what he said to me really sort of kind of scared me. If it was someone else, I probably wouldn't have listened to them. And by this point, people had already sort of tried to, say, you need to go to a doctor, there's something wrong with you, you're not right. And give you another example, it got to the stage where my trousers were falling down. I didn't own a belt, but beforehand they were always fine, and I started walking around the office and they would just be falling down. I'd have to pull them up all the time because I had no ass, because I just weighed nothing. Anyway, the next day, Monday morning, I went to work, and on the way there we stopped at the pharmacy and I got one of these diabetes testing kits. And basically the way it works is it tests for sugar in your urine. That's usually a good indication if you are diabetic, because what happens is when you're diabetic, basically your blood sugar rises, and this is whether you're type 1 or type 2, and when you urinate on the strip it changes colour as it comes into contact with glucose. And anyway, so I did that and it came back, oh, you're diabetic, this little strip. And I tried to sort of talk myself out of it and say, oh, it might be nothing. Went and did it again, came back again, and work colleagues eventually said, oh, you need to go to the doctor. And I rang them up, told them, and they said, oh, come in on Thursday. Anyway, they called back later on because apparently the doctor heard and he said he wanted me in there within an hour or so. Got some blood tests done. They said, oh, you'll hear back in a few days from now. Got a phone call about 2 hours later, you need to come in right now. And went into the doctor's, and my blood sugar was 32 millimoles. that's how bad I was. So for those of you who are watching who are wondering what's a normal blood sugar level for a person, so a normal person is roughly 4 to 5 millimoles. So millimole is basically a unit of measurement of you know, whatever's being measured per a specific volume of blood. So basically mine was 32 when it should have been 4. So I went into hospital, and it turned out at the time that the lady said to me a few days after, or a week or two after, that when I first went into hospital I was literally days away from collapsing into a coma and probably dying. That is how ill I was. It's crazy to look back on it. And basically what happened then is I started injecting insulin, which is easy. I didn't struggle with it. I thought it was quite cool, messing around, sticking needles inside yourself. So what I did is I started injecting insulin, went home the next day, and with that week actually I felt like death. So I was diagnosed on the Monday, and interestingly I started to feel really ill after, you know, being diagnosed. I don't know whether that's some sort of mental thing, because I know that, oh, that I'm ill now, I've got type 1 diabetes, so you start to feel it. Or it could have been a case that I was, you know, that I'd hit to the point where I was going to start declining if I didn't have the insulin. So anyway, I started using insulin, but I was still not on a plant-based diet. I was still you know, eating animal products occasionally. So I'd always have milk with my cereal, so I'd have about 200 millilitres of milk with my cereal each day. Couple of times a week I might have some like a chicken curry from the supermarket, and a few things like that. So to give you an idea, I had probably an insulin to carbohydrate ratio of about 1 to 10. So for those of you watching, people who inject insulin, they inject insulin to metabolize carbohydrates, and basically when you have a certain amount of carbohydrates you have to inject a certain amount of insulin. So at the time my ratio is 1 to 10. So anyway, going on, what happened was I actually started to put weight on, which is a normal side effect of using insulin, and I blew out from probably 10 and a half stone all the way to 14 really quickly. It's not anything you can fight, it's just one of those things, because when your body has been starved for so long of nutrients, it'll force you to you know, to basically eat, and it will compel you to eat, to get the energy in, to get the calories in, to repair the damage that's happened, to build up your fat reserves again. And what will happen is you'll actually, you know, get heavier. And if you're interested in that, just Google Dr. Ansel Keys, and I think it's called The Biology of Human Starvation. So anyway, it got to around November 2014, so last year, and I was still eating the animal products, but I was so moved by Forks Over Knives, and I thought I need to do something, but I didn't know what to do. I mean, I still have milk with cereal, and I couldn't get past this, you know, this barrier. What do you have for breakfast? Because I always thought, well, it's milk and cereal. And anyway, I started going on YouTube, looking for different videos, trying to find out what can vegans eat, and I came across some guy in England who didn't have a clue, and he's recommended people eat bagels and processed junk food, and I just thought to myself, probably just get cancer eating this processed rubbish the same as I would do from animal products. And I was really close to giving in. And then I came across Durianrider. So for those of you who don't know, Durianrider is a very popular YouTube vegan YouTuber. He's probably him and his girlfriend Freely, they're probably the leading YouTubers at the moment in terms of veganism and getting the message out there. And Durianrider, he's an Australian fella, lives in Australia, and his real name's Harley Johnstone. And I just watched his videos, and he was just so brutally honest with the truth. He wouldn't hold back, and he would just say it how it was. And I just saw this guy smashing down, you know, 10, 15 bananas. He would have a smoothie maker or a blender, and he'd just be smashing it in. And straight away, I just had this, I know what I can eat now. And so I was on I think it was the Sunday, the 9th of November. That's the first time I watched his video. And I don't know how I came across him. He must have been in the suggested videos. Anyway, I started watching his videos, and I must have spent 4 or 5 hours watching this guy's videos. And I made the commitment there and then, I'm going to go vegan. No more, you know, dead animals, none of that rubbish. And I went vegan, and the reasons why I went vegan mainly were because I didn't want heart disease, I didn't want cancer, I don't want those, you know, illnesses and diseases, especially if they're completely preventable. But I never expected it to have any effect on my diabetes, because when I went into hospital, the doctor said to me, type 1 diabetics, you know, there's nothing you can really do diet-wise, you know, to, you know, improve the condition, etc. It's all just about, you know, matching carbs to insulin and things along those lines. And anyway, what happened was I started having hypoglycemic attacks in work. And so to give you a bit of an idea of what I was eating, so I was probably eating I was eating fruit every single day for breakfast and dinner, and then I'd eat a cooked meal at night, so basically raw till 4. And what happened was I was at the time I wasn't using Chronometer to look accurately at my food. I think I was using Calorie King to work out roughly how many carbs were there. But basically I started having hypos, and what happened was that this diet, this vegan diet, was making my body more sensitive to insulin. So like I said before, I was on an insulin to carbohydrate ratio of about 1 to 10. Now then, to stop having hypos, when I adjusted it, it went from about 1 to 10 to 1 to 18. And then it went from about 1 to 18 to 1 to 25, and then to about 1 to 35. And this was all within the space of a couple of days or a week. Like that, my body began to become sensitive to insulin. And the reason why is that type 1 diabetics can be insulin resistant. So for those of you who, you know, don't know, you have what's called insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. So let's say, imagine this hand here is the cell, and let's imagine this hand here is sugar, and in between you have what's called insulin. And what happens is the insulin allows the sugar to come into the cell. But what happens is when you eat animal products, because they're high in fat and other different chemicals, what happens is it can literally clog and cover the cell. So what happens is the sugar can never get in, and the blood sugars go up, which means you have to use more insulin. And anyway, when I went vegan, what happened is my body became more sensitive, so I had less fat in my diet, less fat in my body, less fat covering my cells and in my cells. And what would happen is the carbohydrates, they could just go in, they didn't need that much insulin anymore. So I cut my insulin needs by about 2/3 by following Durianrider's advice. 2/3. I got less highs and I got less lows, less hypoglycemic attacks and less hyperglycemia, which is high blood sugars. In addition to that, since then I've started losing weight gradually. My blood pressure came down, so my blood pressure averages like 120 over 70, sometimes 120 over 60. My resting heart rate came down into the 50s range when it was in the 60s. And also Durianrider got me into cycling. So when I first started watching his videos and his channel, whenever he had any videos about cycling, I was like, oh, I'm not interested in cycling, skip that. Then after a while I was watching his videos and I thought, might be something to this, and I realised, I just looked at it and it kind of clicked, and then I went out, borrowed my mate's bike and started cycling and fell in love with it, and I straight away began to get fitter. It helped my insulin sensitivity more, and really Durianrider has changed my entire life. So Forks Over Knives, you know, started it for me in the, you know, made me consciously aware that the food I was eating could kill me, it could give me heart disease and cancer, but that information enough, you know, isn't always enough for someone to go vegan. You know, people need options, and what Durianrider did for me was give me options. He showed me what to eat, showed me how to eat, not to be scared of carbs, to smash it in. You know, that's one of the things I've always heard, is that, you know, diabetics can't eat carbohydrates because it causes high blood sugar. Let me tell you, carbohydrates in no way, shape or form cause high blood sugar. It's not true. So if you take the instance of someone who's type 1 diabetic, such as myself, which means I no longer produce insulin, my pancreas is, you know, basically gone. Well, it's there, but the beta cells which make insulin are dead. Why would blood sugar go up? Well, it's one of two reasons. One, the person no longer produces insulin, so therefore the sugar goes up. But two, what can happen is the people, they eat these really high fat diets, and as a result of that, what happens is they eat these high fat diets, but the insulin they use, it's not as effective, and then the blood sugar goes up. So it's not the carbs, it's either the lack of insulin, or they may be using insulin but they're having these high fat diets which cause insulin resistance. And for people who are type 2 diabetic, they are full blown insulin resistant. So with people who've got type 2 diabetes, 90 to 95% of it is caused by diet, and that's at a minimum. So people who have type 2 diabetes, what happens with them is they eat the high fat diet, so standard American diet, so bacon, eggs, meat, steak, etc. And what happens is, like I said before, the fat gets into their blood, covers their cells, the sugar can't get into the cell, the blood sugars begin to rise, the body tries to pump out more insulin to stop that, and what happens is eventually they become, you know, insulin resistant. And in that case there, it's not the carbohydrates that are the problem, it's the fat that is the problem, because it's the fat that causes the blood sugars to rise. So basically what is this video that I'm making? And well, I suppose one, hi, my name's Chris, welcome to my channel. So it's an introduction as such, because I want to start helping people who've got diabetes, such as myself, and people who are type 2, in addition to the type 1s. And it's also a thank you video to Durianrider, because, you know, Durianrider changed my life. If I'd never come across his videos, I might still be eating dead animals now, giving myself, you know, heart disease, insulin resistance, because even though I knew it was wrong, from a health perspective, I didn't know what to eat, and Durianrider gave me those options, and he's been giving me those options in all those different videos, because he shows you what you can and can't eat, and I've learned so much from him over the last year or so. And just not that though, the fact that, you know, I wouldn't be cycling if it weren't for Durianrider. I wouldn't be cycling at all. And, you know, since I started cycling in February this year, you know, I've done some crazy stuff. I did a 105-mile bike ride. I never would have thought I'd do something like 105 miles, and that I did that within about 4 months of cycling. In the month of August, I did about 800 miles, you know, in a month of cycling, and it's just not that. He's really changed my entire outlook on life. You know, why do we do things, things like that? Do we do it because we want it, or do we do it because we want to impress people we don't care about, so they can, so they don't judge us? And it's just these little things, he's just not about, cycling food. He's very much a lifestyle person, people person, gets in people's heads and works out what's going on. So thank you for watching. I hope this has been useful. Like I said, it's my first video, and there'll be lots of videos to come, hopefully. Please type your questions and comments in the bottom. What videos do you want to see from me? What topics do you want me to do you want to see me cover about food, what I eat, diabetes, heart disease, cycling, etc. And please go subscribe to Durianrider, watch his videos. You'll learn a lot, and thank you very much, everyone, and thank you to Durianrider for changing my life. Peace.